Good morning, and thank you for being here. People in the back, can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Yes. Wonderful. When we first started talking with Jim, one of the questions for us was what kind of topic did we want to have? And it was fairly easy for us because we are in a time where things are changing so quickly. One of the most difficult things for us as planners, and hopefully you appreciate this as students rather than practitioners, you understand it because you live it, is just how fast our world is changing and how difficult it is for us to keep up. And we thought that what we could share with you today is our learning over the past number of years about how we're making sense of a fast-moving digital age by figuring out which things stay the same and which things are changing. So that's our topic. First,
some of the thought process behind the fact that you never said the word ramp. It was never even mentioned. There was a shot of the truck in the middle. Editing was beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was never mentioned. So tell me some of the thought process behind that.
well, we knew it's a Super Bowl, right? So we knew it's a really, really big stage, and we knew that we had to play that stage very carefully. And then we knew that let me step back a little bit. Because the creative process, the way we work is that it's rooms full of creative people, meeting after meeting after meeting, pitching ideas. And we would show up and we'd sit there and we'd listen to 40 ideas. We might like 2 or 3. Say, okay, all the rest is dead. And like meeting after meeting of all of this. And one of the most difficult decisions was, how do we approach this? Because it would have been easy to have done the 3rd installment of America, the return of America. And we realized that every one of those ideas, by the time you got to the 3rd one, there's no way it was going to be as fresh or as interesting as the original M&M had of, because that was such at a really tough time in America, that was such a shock. So we realized that wasn't going to be right. As people came back to humor, and it just didn't feel right. And so this idea of doing something that was so incredibly unexpected was really appealing. The idea of it being quiet and one of the noisiest events of the year, of it being so stark. So the simplicity of it, the starkness of it, the bare bones nature of it. And it was about farmers. There was this notion of, there aren't many farmers anymore. This doesn't make any sense, but it makes perfect sense because everyone gets the principles. The principles of it, some of you may have never had a farmer in your generation, going back in your history, but you can relate to the notions of it. So for us, we realized that there was tremendous power in the stark simplicity of just letting it go. And we found that original voiceover. One of the guys found it on YouTube and realized that it was just magical because of how simple it was. And then the worst thing we would do is to gunk it up by making it overly commercial. We would have ruined it. Just let it go.
It's a pleasure to be here today. I got here at the after lunch session, so you're all going to be bogged down and feeling lethargic after all that food. So I'm going to try and keep this presentation really, really simple. I say to all my planners, don't be clever, be clear. So that is what you can judge me against today. Hopefully I'm clear and I can give you some helpful tips on storytelling. So what I'm also going to do is give you some principles of what I think is the art of storytelling, kind of modern day strategic planning. And I'm going to show you lots of work to do that, because at Wieden & Kennedy we're all about the work. The only reason I am there as a strategist is to help create interesting, thoughtful, relevant work that impacts culture. So that's the only reason I'm here. So I'm going to show you that work. And I'm only showing you Wieden & Kennedy work, and I want to say up front, that is not because I believe that Wieden & Kennedy work is the best work in the industry. I admire work all the time. In fact, Dave's RAM campaign was my favorite at the Super Bowl by far. Super inspiring. But I'm doing it because I'm giving you Wieden & Kennedy and my philosophy on storytelling. And the best way for me to do that is to show you some of the stories that we have told. And I want to show you stories that we have told long time ago. So you're going to see stories that we told decades ago. You're going to see some stories that we told 3 years ago. And you're going to see some stories that we told 2 months ago. And I'm doing that very deliberately because what I want to say to you is that storytelling has remained consistent for us throughout time, for a whole host of reasons. And yet, we've also had to completely revolutionize the way in which we tell those stories. So I'm going to kind of do both today, show you some, as I said, some stories that were told a while ago, and some stories that we've shown more recently.
Hi everyone. So Michelle and I are really happy to be here talking to you guys today. We know, as Jim talked about,
our heritage is rooted in advertising. It's kind of where we learned the rules of account planning. And we really made the transition a few years ago. I think for me about 5 to 6 years ago, and Michelle more recently. And I think what we'll talk to you about today is really our perspective in using a planning discipline in a really new space. I mean, historically, it's not known for being very strategic. So we'll talk to you about our real-world examples, how we live and breathe and really foster it throughout the organization that we work for. So I work at Ellen in New York. It is historically a public relations practice firm, but as with many marketing firms and many principals in the space, they continue to evolve and they continue to become more strategic and increase their planning principle. So I'll share some of that with you.
I'm Michelle Leo, and I work at Taylor PR in New York. It's a mid-sized PR agency, and like Mimi said, I'm a little bit more recent than her in terms of joining or applying PR to planning to PR. But we were really excited to kind of share our perspective with you on how we think where it came from, where it is, and then where it's going. So,
improv and in insight, there is something inherently grounded in truth that makes it resonate with individuals. The funny idea in improv is essentially the insight, just like the insight in advertising is about getting a reaction out of people. So while I may not have literally cried, I think there would have been a part of me that was very disappointed. So revealing that truth is what made you guys kind of react to me being honest in that situation. So that's the kind of the core of this presentation. So the title, as you all know, is Humor and Insight Finding the Fun. And kind of the log line, if this were to be like a screenplay, is exploring the connection between humor and the quest for insights by unpacking the principles of improvisation. So we're gonna talk about improv, and we're gonna talk about advertising and broader insights, and then figure out the correlation. Insight is one of these words that I think as strategists we are charged with knowing a great deal about, but the definition changes from person to person, from agency to agency, and so it's just going to be another take that you could potentially use as inspiration when you're looking to figure out how to get to an idea that's actually going to resonate, excite your creatives, and kind of catalyze your consumer base.
I wanted to introduce myself. This is going to be slightly different. I am the VP for Experience Design, and what that means is at Smith, all of our creative, all of our experience design is under one umbrella, which includes visual design, user experience, and copywriting. And so I lead up kind of the best practices and building out the user experience arm of that, and also oversee overall creative with our head of copywriting, head of visual design, chief creative officer, chief experience officer. And when, more importantly, I work on client work, I'm the creative director for that joint work. We pull that all together because it's really essential that those work all in concert with one another. I am a psychologist by training, more specifically an engineering psychologist, which I love to tell people because they get a very quizzical look. What does that mean? And what it means is basically I take the understanding of how people think, of cognition, information processing, attenuation, and I apply that to engineering problems or things where people interact with stuff. And so in design and user experience, we use a lot of techniques and understanding of what people are good at, how they think, how they make decisions, and use that to inform our design to help make things usable and fun